I turned 68 on October 14th, 2023. I didn't want a party. I told Ryan that. I told him 3 times, actually, but he insisted. He said Vanessa had already made reservations at Kornblatt's Delicatessen on NW 23rd, my favorite place, the one where Thomas used to take me every Sunday after church back when he was still alive. I should have known something was wrong right there. Vanessa never did anything nice for me unless there was a reason. The restaurant smelled like pastrami and pickles and something deep fried. The tables were old formica, red and cracked at the edges, and the noise was constant. Silverware clanging, people shouting orders in Russian, the espresso machine hissing in the corner. I sat at the head of the table. Ryan was on my right, Vanessa was on my left, but she barely looked at me. Emma, my granddaughter, sat across from me, but she had her phone out the whole time, earbuds in. She was 16. I hadn't seen her in almost 4 months. Pat, my younger sister, sat at the other end with her husband, Doug. She was wearing a new jacket, leather, expensive looking. I wondered where she got the money for that. Pat worked part-time at a dental office and Doug drove for Uber. They didn't have expensive jacket money. Ryan ordered a bottle of wine. I don't drink much anymore, but I let him pour me a glass. Vanessa ordered a kale salad with no dressing and spent the first 20 minutes explaining to the waiter why seed oils were poison. The waiter nodded politely, but I could see he wanted to leave. I wanted to leave too. Nobody mentioned my birthday for the first 30 minutes. They talked about Emma's volleyball tournament. They talked about Ryan's promotion at work. He was a sales manager now, made $87,000 a year, which I knew because he'd told me twice last month. Vanessa talked about her new client, some tech exec who wanted his entire house restyled in Japandi minimalism. I didn't know what that meant. I didn't ask. Finally, Pat raised her glass. "To Maggie," she said. 68 years young. Everyone clinked glasses. Emma took out one earbud for 5 seconds, said, "Happy birthday, Grandma," and put it back in. That was it. No cake, no card, no gift. Ryan said the gift was coming later, but he didn't look at me when he said it. I felt something tighten in my chest. Not pain, exactly. Just a kind of pressure, like when you know you're not wanted somewhere but you can't leave because it would be rude. I thought about Thomas. He'd been dead for 18 years, but I still thought about him every single day. He would have made this nice. He would have brought flowers. He would have sung to me, off-key and loud, and not cared who heard. I took a sip of wine and set the glass down. My hand was shaking a little. I folded it into my lap so nobody would see. That's when I heard Vanessa. She leaned close to Ryan, so close her mouth almost touched his ear, and she whispered, "While everyone's here, go and change the locks at the old lady's apartment." I froze. Ryan nodded. He didn't say anything. He just nodded, like she'd asked him to pick up milk on the way home. Then he stood up, kissed the top of Vanessa's head and said, "I'll be back in a bit. Gotta run a quick errand." He left. I sat there with my hands folded in my lap and my heart hammering so hard I thought everyone could hear it. But nobody was looking at me. Pat was on her phone. Doug was chewing on a pickle. Vanessa was scrolling through Instagram, smiling at something on her screen. Emma still had her earbuds in. I wanted to scream. I wanted to stand up and flip the table and grab Vanessa by her perfect blonde hair and ask her who the hell she thought she was, but I didn't. I just sat there. I've always been good at sitting quietly. That's what women like me do. We sit quietly and we take it, and we smile and we say thank you. I picked up my fork and ate a bite of my sandwich. It tasted like cardboard. Ryan came back an hour later. When he walked through the door, I looked up, and I swear to God he was pale, paler than I'd ever seen him. His face was gray, almost green under the fluorescent lights, and his hands were shaking when he sat down. He leaned over to Vanessa and whispered something I couldn't hear. But I saw her face change. She went from smiling to confused to angry in about 3 seconds. "What do you mean?" she hissed. He whispered again. I caught 2 words, "honey," and "there." Vanessa's jaw tightened. She didn't look at me. She looked at Pat, and Pat looked back at her with this strange expression, like they were having a conversation without words. Then Vanessa stood up, smoothed her dress, and said, "We need to go. Emma has homework." Emma looked up, confused. "I finished my—" "Now," Vanessa said. They left. Ryan didn't say goodbye to me. He didn't even look at me. He just followed Vanessa out the door like a dog on a leash. Pat and Doug left 5 minutes later. Pat hugged me, but it was the kind of hug you give someone at a funeral. Stiff, obligatory, over in 2 seconds. "Happy birthday, Maggie," she said. Then she was gone. I sat there alone at the table. The waiter came by and asked if I wanted dessert. I said no. He brought the check anyway. It was $162. I paid it. I left a $30 tip because I felt bad that he'd had to deal with Vanessa. I took the bus home. I've lived in the same apartment in Nob Hill for 17 years, ever since Thomas died, and I used the life insurance money to buy it outright. $280,000. It was the smartest thing I ever did. No mortgage, no landlord, just me and my lavender sachets and the wood floors that creak near the kitchen and the wall of photographs in the living room. Thomas in his Navy uniform, Thomas holding baby Ryan, Thomas and me on our wedding day in 1979. I walked up to the second floor. The hallway smelled like somebody's cooking, garlic and onions. I pulled out my keys. The keychain had a little metal charm on it that said, "World's Best Mom." Ryan gave it to me when he was 12, back when he still thought I was the best at something. I slid the key into the lock. It didn't turn. I tried again. Nothing. I pulled the key out, checked it, put it back in. Still nothing. I stood there in the hallway for 5 minutes, trying the key over and over, my hands shaking, my throat tight. I thought maybe I was using the wrong key. But I only had 2 keys on the ring, one for the apartment, one for the mailbox. I tried both. Neither worked. I pulled out my phone and called Ryan. It rang 4 times and went to voicemail. I called again. Voicemail. I called a 3rd time. He picked up. "Mom, I'm busy." "Ryan, my key doesn't work." Silence. "Ryan, I'll call you tomorrow," he said, and he hung up. I stood there in the hallway with my phone in my hand and my purse on my shoulder and absolutely nowhere to go. The door to my apartment, the apartment I bought with my dead husband's insurance money, the apartment I'd lived in for 17 years, was locked, and I was on the outside. I thought about sitting down right there in the hallway and just waiting. Waiting for what, I didn't know. For Ryan to come back and explain. For Vanessa to suddenly grow a conscience. For Thomas to come back from the dead and fix everything like he always did. But none of that was going to happen. So I walked back down the stairs, out the front door, and into the October cold. I didn't have a coat. I'd left it inside. I stood on the sidewalk and looked up at my living room window. The lights were off. The curtains were closed. I walked 6 blocks to the Motel 6 on 82nd Avenue. The sign outside said, "Vacancy," in flickering neon letters. The man at the front desk didn't ask any questions. I paid $890 for the week in cash. He gave me a key attached to a plastic diamond-shaped tag with the number 12 on it. The room smelled like old cigarettes and industrial-strength cleaner. The bedspread was brown with yellow flowers. There was a stain on the ceiling that looked like a map of Florida. I sat down on the edge of the bed and I stared at the wall, and I didn't cry. I wanted to, but I didn't. I thought about the way Ryan's face had looked when he came back to the restaurant. Pale, shaking, scared. What had he seen in my apartment that made him look like that? Why had he come back looking like he'd seen a ghost? And why, after everything I'd done for him, had he locked me out of my own home? I stayed at the Motel 6 for 3 days before I worked up the nerve to go back to my apartment. I kept thinking Ryan would call. He didn't. I kept thinking maybe it was all a mistake. Maybe the locks were broken and he'd had to change them for safety reasons, and he just forgot to give me a new key. But deep down, I knew better. On the 3rd day, I took the bus back to Nob Hill. I walked up to my building and stood outside for 10 minutes, just staring at the door. A woman walked past me with a stroller. She looked at me like I was homeless. I guess I looked the part. Same clothes I'd been wearing since Saturday, hair unwashed, eyes puffy from not sleeping. I buzzed the apartment. No answer. I buzzed again. Nothing. I tried calling Ryan. Voicemail. I tried texting. No response. I sat down on the front steps, and I don't know how long I was there. Maybe an hour. Maybe 2. Finally, a young guy came out of the building. Early 20s, hipster beard, coffee in hand. He held the door open for me. "You okay, ma'am?" I nodded and slipped inside before he could change his mind. I took the stairs to the second floor. My legs felt heavy. When I got to my door, I just stood there, staring at the new lock. It was silver, shiny, completely different from the old brass one. I reached out and touched it. It was cold. I heard a door open behind me. Mrs. Chen from 2C poked her head out. She was 81, Chinese, barely spoke English, but she saw me and her face changed. She came out into the hallway, looked around like she was checking for witnesses, then leaned close. "Your son," she said. "He comes Saturday. With wife. They bring man. Change lock." "Did they say why?" She shook her head. "Wife say you no live here no more. Say apartment is theirs now. Say you." She struggled for the word. "Dangerous." My stomach dropped. "Dangerous?" Mrs. Chen nodded. "She say you, sick, in head. Say you forget things. Say not safe." I felt my face go hot. Vanessa had told the neighbors I was senile, that I was crazy, that I was dangerous. Mrs. Chen reached out and squeezed my hand. "I no believe," she said. "You good lady. Always quiet. Always kind." Then she went back into her apartment and closed the door. I stood there for another minute, then I left. There was nothing else to do. I went to Pat's house in Beaverton. I took 2 buses and it took 90 minutes. Her house was small, 1-story beige siding, lawn that needed mowing. I knocked. Doug answered. He looked surprised to see me. "Maggie, hey, Pat's not here. Where is she? Shopping, I think. You want to come in?" I did. The house smelled like synthetic flowers. One of those plug-in air fresheners too strong. I sat on the couch. Doug sat in the recliner and muted the TV. We sat in silence for a minute. "Doug," I said, "did you know?" He shifted in his seat, looked at the floor. "Know what?" "That they were going to lock me out." His face went red. He didn't answer. "Doug," Pat said. She said it was for the best. She said Ryan and Vanessa needed the apartment. "They got financial problems, Maggie. Vanessa's business isn't doing so hot. And Ryan's got Emma to think about. College coming up, tuition, all that. They needed the money." I stared at him. "It's my apartment." "I know, but I bought it with Thomas's life insurance. I paid for it outright. My name is on the deed." Doug looked miserable. "I know. I told Pat that. But she said Vanessa had a plan. She said Ryan was going to handle it legal-like. She said they'd give you a place to stay, help you find somewhere smaller, somewhere you could manage easier. "A motel on 82nd Avenue, I said. "That's where I'm staying." His face went white. "Jesus. Maggie, I thought they were gonna... You thought they were going to take care of me." I laughed. It came out bitter. "Doug, they threw me out. On my birthday. They changed the locks while I was sitting at dinner." He didn't say anything. I stood up. "Where's Pat, really?" "Maggie. Where is she?" He sighed. "She's at your apartment. With Vanessa. They're going through your stuff. Packing things up." I took an Uber. I didn't have Uber money, but I didn't care anymore. I paid $28 to get back to Nob Hill. When I got there, I used the same trick. Waited for someone to come out. Slipped inside. I went upstairs. My apartment door was open. I walked in. Pat and Vanessa were in the living room. There were boxes everywhere. My books, my clothes, my kitchen things. Vanessa had a trash bag in her hand and she was pulling photos off the wall. The photos of Thomas. She was throwing them in the bag. "Stop," I said. They both turned. Vanessa didn't look surprised. She looked annoyed. "Margaret," she said. She always called me Margaret, never Maggie. "You can't be here. It's my apartment. Not anymore." She pulled a paper out of her purse and handed it to me. "Ryan signed the deed over 3 months ago. We're selling it. The buyer's already lined up. Closing's in 2 weeks." I looked at the paper. It was a contract of sale. Ryan's signature was at the bottom. The date was July 18th, 2023, 3 months ago. My hands were shaking so hard I almost dropped it. "You're lying," I said. Ryan did what he had to do," Vanessa said. "You're getting old, Margaret. You can't manage a place like this anymore. You're forgetful. You leave the stove on. You forget to pay bills. Ryan's been covering your expenses for over a year." That was a lie. I paid every bill on time. I had $38,000 left in savings from Thomas's insurance. I didn't need Ryan's money. But I looked at Pat, and Pat wouldn't meet my eyes. "Pat," I said. "Tell her. Tell her I'm not—" "Maggie, maybe it's for the best," Pat said quietly. "You're alone in this big place. You could move somewhere smaller. Assisted living, maybe. Somewhere with people your age." I felt something break inside me. Not my heart. I don't think I had much heart left. Something else. Something that had been holding me together. "Get out," Vanessa said. "Or I'm calling the police." I left. I walked out of my own apartment, past my own belongings in boxes, past my husband's photos in a trash bag, and I left. I went back to the Motel 6. I sat on the brown bedspread, and I opened my purse and I pulled out the contract. I stared at Ryan's signature for a long time. Something about it looked wrong. The slant. The loops. I'd seen Ryan's signature 1,000 times. On birthday cards, on checks, on the deed when I co-signed his first car loan. This didn't look like his handwriting. This looked like someone had traced it. I spent the next week in that motel room. I didn't leave except to buy food from the 7-Eleven 2 blocks away. Instant ramen, granola bars, a rotisserie chicken that lasted 3 days. I ate it cold, straight from the plastic container, sitting on the edge of the bed with the TV on mute. The room cost $890 a week. I had $38,000 in savings. That meant I could stay here for about 42 weeks if I was careful. A little less than a year. Then what? I didn't let myself think about that. I tried calling Ryan 6 more times. He never picked up. I tried calling Emma. Her number went straight to voicemail. Blocked, probably. I thought about calling Pat, but what was the point? She'd already chosen a side, and it wasn't mine. At night, I couldn't sleep. The trucks on 82nd Avenue started around 4 a.m. Big rigs, delivery vans, cars with broken mufflers. The neon vacancy sign outside my window buzzed and flickered. The people in the room next to mine fought every night. I could hear them through the wall. A man and a woman, screaming at each other in Spanish. I didn't understand the words, but I understood the tone. I lay in bed and I thought about Thomas. We met in 1977. I was 21, working as a secretary at a law firm downtown. He was 23, fresh out of the Navy, looking for work. He came in to apply for a security job. He didn't get it, but he asked me out for coffee. We got married 2 years later. We had Ryan in 1982. Thomas worked construction for 30 years. His knees were shot by the time he was 50. His back was worse, but he never complained. He came home every night smelling like sawdust and sweat, and he'd kiss me on the forehead and ask what was for dinner. He died of a heart attack in 2005 on a Tuesday in the middle of a job site in Gresham. He was 62. The life insurance paid out $385,000. I used $280,000 to buy the apartment. I didn't want to rent anymore. I wanted something that was mine, something nobody could take away. I wanted security. I guess I was wrong about that. I used another $67,000 to pay off Ryan's student loans. He'd gone to Portland State, graduated in 2004 with a degree in business. He'd taken out loans, $67,000 total. He was paying them off slowly, $300 a month, and it was killing him. So I paid them. All of it. 1 check. He cried when I told him. He hugged me and said, "Mom, I'm going to pay you back. I swear." He never did. I kept the last $38,000 in a savings account. Emergency money, just in case. I thought about Emma. I'd raised her for 2 years, from 2010 to 2012 when she was a baby. Vanessa had her when she was 22, and she wasn't ready. She told Ryan she needed time to find herself. So she left. She moved to California, took some yoga teacher training course, posted photos on Instagram of herself doing headstands on beaches. Meanwhile, I changed Emma's diapers. I woke up at 2 a.m. for feedings. I rocked her to sleep every night singing "You Are My Sunshine," the same song I used to sing to Ryan. When Vanessa came back, she didn't say thank you. She just took Emma and moved into a new apartment with Ryan and acted like those 2 years had never happened. I thought about all the times I'd given Emma money. $20 here, $50 there. Birthday money, Christmas money. "Don't tell your mom," I'd say. And Emma would smile and hug me and promise she wouldn't. I gave her $200 a month for almost 3 years. That was $7,200. Vanessa didn't know about any of it. I thought about Ryan's 12th birthday when he gave me that keychain. World's best mom. He'd saved up his allowance to buy it. 3 months of allowance, $12. He was so proud. He wrapped it himself, crooked tape, too much of it. I cried when I opened it. I told him I'd keep it forever. I pulled it out of my purse now and held it in my hand. The metal was cold. The words were worn down from 18 years of use. I rubbed my thumb over the engraving, "World's Best Mom." I wondered what Ryan would say if he saw me now. Sitting in a motel room that smelled like disinfectant and failure, eating cold chicken, locked out of my own home by my own son. Would he care? On the 8th day, my phone buzzed. A text message. Unknown number. I opened it. "This is Vanessa. You have 10 days to sign the transfer paperwork, or we will file a lawsuit for unlawful occupation of property. Ryan's lawyer is prepared to move forward. Don't make this harder than it needs to be." I stared at the screen. My hands were shaking. Unlawful occupation of my own apartment. The apartment I bought. The apartment with my name on the deed. I tried to call the number back. It rang once, then disconnected. I tried again. Same thing. I put the phone down. I thought about calling a lawyer, but lawyers cost money, and I didn't know how much. I thought about going to the police. But what would I say? My son locked me out of my apartment? They'd ask if my name was on the deed. I'd say yes. They'd tell me it was a civil matter. They'd tell me to get a lawyer. Everything came back to money. I looked around the motel room, the brown bedspread, the stained ceiling, the mini fridge that hummed too loud, the window that didn't lock all the way. This was my life now. I thought about my mother. She died when I was 30, back in 1986. Breast cancer. She fought it for 2 years. Near the end, she was in so much pain she couldn't get out of bed. But she never complained. She just looked at me one day and said, "Maggie, don't let people make you small." I didn't understand what she meant back then. I understood now. I opened my laptop, a 6-year-old Dell that took 5 minutes to boot up. I searched for lawyers in Portland, family law, real estate law, elder law. I clicked on a few websites. Most of them had contact forms. Free consultation. I filled out 3 forms. I gave them my email, my phone number, a brief summary. Locked out of my own apartment by my son. Need help. 2 of them responded the next day with auto replies. The 3rd one called me. Her name was Karen Diaz. She sounded young, maybe 35. She listened while I explained everything. Ryan, Vanessa, the locks, the contract, the text message. She didn't interrupt. When I finished, she was quiet for a moment. "Mrs. Brennan," she said, "do you have a copy of the deed?" "No, it's in the apartment." "Do you have any bank records showing you purchased the property?" I think so. Maybe. I'd have to look." "Okay, here's what I need you to do. Go to the county recorder's office. Request a copy of the deed. It's public record. They'll give it to you for about $15. Then call me back." "How much do you charge?" She hesitated. "My retainer is $5,000. $5,000. I thought about my $38,000. Minus the motel, minus food, minus the Uber rides, minus everything. "Okay," I said. "Mrs. Brennan, I have to be honest with you. If your son forged your signature or coerced you into signing something, we have a case. But if you willingly signed the deed over, 'I didn't sign anything,' then we have a case. Get me that deed." I hung up. I sat there for a long time staring at the phone. Then I heard a noise outside my door. Footsteps. Close. I froze. A piece of paper slid under the door. I got up slowly, walked over, picked it up. It was a printed photo. A screenshot, actually. From Emma's Instagram. It was a picture of me and Emma from 2 years ago, at her 14th birthday. We were smiling. She had her arm around me. The caption said, "Best grandma ever." Someone had drawn a red X over my face. On the back, in printed letters, "Stay away." I looked at the door. I opened it. The hallway was empty. I closed the door. I locked it. I put the chain on. I sat back down on the bed and I looked at the photo and I realized something. They weren't just trying to take my apartment. They were trying to erase me. The next morning, I took the bus downtown to the Multnomah County Recorder's office. It was in a gray building on S.E. Hawthorne 3rd floor. The woman behind the counter looked bored. I asked for a copy of the deed to my apartment. She asked for the address. I gave it to her. She typed something into her computer, waited, then printed 2 pages and slid them across the counter. $15, she said. I paid in cash. My hands were shaking when I took the papers. I sat down on a bench in the hallway and read them. The property was purchased on September 12, 2006, by Margaret Ann Brennan. That was me. Purchase price, $280,000. Paid in full, no mortgage. Owner, Margaret Ann Brennan. There was no transfer, no sale, no signature, but mine. According to the county, I still owned the apartment. I sat there staring at the paper for a long time. Then I took out my phone and called Karen Diaz. "Mrs. Brennan," she said, "did you get the deed?" "Yes, it's still in my name." Silence on the other end. Then, "Say that again." "The deed, it's still in my name. There's no transfer recorded. So the contract your daughter-in-law showed you is fake. Or at least it was never filed." Karen exhaled. "Okay, this is good. This is very good. Do you have a copy of the contract they showed you?" "No." Vanessa took it back. "Damn. Okay. Do you remember what it said? The date? The buyer's name?" "The date was July 18th, 2023. I don't remember the buyer's name. It was a company, I think. Something with properties in it." "Okay. Here's what's happening. They faked a contract to scare you into leaving. They probably planned to forge your signature on a real deed transfer once you were gone. But they haven't done it yet. Which means we can stop them." "How?" "You file a restraining order. You file a police report for fraud and elder abuse. You get a locksmith to change the locks back. Today, if possible. And you document everything. Every text, every email, every threat. Do you still have that text from Vanessa?" I checked my phone. The message was still there. "You have 10 days to sign the transfer paperwork or we will file a lawsuit." "Yes." "Forward it to me. Right now." I did. "Mrs. Brennan, I'm going to be very direct with you. Your son and his wife are committing fraud. This is a criminal matter. If you want to press charges, you can. But if you do, your son could go to jail." I didn't say anything. "Do you want to press charges?" I thought about Ryan. Ryan at 12, giving me the keychain. Ryan at 22, crying when I paid off his loans. Ryan at 42, pale and shaking, coming back from my apartment and whispering something to Vanessa. "Not yet," I said. "Okay. Then we play it smart. We show them we have the real deed. We show them we know what they're doing, and we give them a chance to back off before this gets ugly. And if they don't, then we bury them." I went to a locksmith on 82nd Avenue. It was a small shop, bars on the windows, smell of oil and metal. The guy behind the counter was maybe 60, tattoos on both arms, gray ponytail. "I need my locks changed," I said. "Address?" I gave it to him. He wrote it down. "When?" "Today. Right now, if you can." He looked at me. Really looked at me. "You getting divorced or something?" "Something like that." "You got ID? Proof you own the place?" I showed him the deed. He read it, nodded, handed it back. $200. I can be there in an hour. I paid him half up front. We met at the apartment at 2 p.m. Mrs. Chen saw me in the hallway and gave me a little wave. I waved back. The locksmith drilled out the new lock Vanessa had installed. It took him 20 minutes. He installed a new one, deadbolt, heavy duty, 2 keys. He handed them both to me. "Don't give copies to nobody you don't trust," he said. "I won't." He left. I stood in the doorway for a minute, just staring into my own apartment. It looked different. Empty. Most of my things were still in boxes. The walls were bare. Vanessa had taken down all the photos of Thomas. I walked into the living room. The trash bag was still there in the corner. I opened it. The photos were inside. Thomas in his uniform. Thomas holding baby Ryan. Thomas and me on our wedding day. I pulled them out one by one and I put them back on the wall. When I was done, I sat down on the couch. I looked around. This was my home, mine, and I'd just taken it back. My phone rang an hour later. Unknown number. I answered. Margaret. It was Vanessa. Her voice was cold. "I don't know what you think you're doing, but—" "The deed's in my name," I said. "It never left my name. I checked with the county, so whatever contract you showed me was fake." Silence. "I've hired a lawyer," I continued. "Her name is Karen Diaz. If you or Ryan come near my apartment again, I'm filing for a restraining order. And if you try to forge my signature on anything, I'm pressing charges for fraud." More silence. Then, "You have no idea what you've just done." "I think I do." She hung up. I sat there holding the phone. My heart was pounding. My hands were shaking. But I felt something I hadn't felt in 2 weeks. I felt like I could breathe. 2 days later, I got a call from Karen. "Mrs. Brennan, I have some news. It's interesting." "What?" "Your son and daughter-in-law were in contract to sell your apartment to a real estate investment company. Sale price? $520,000. They'd already put down $40,000 as earnest money, non-refundable." "Okay." "The buyer just pulled out. Apparently, they ran a title search and discovered the deed was never transferred. So the sale's dead, and your son and daughter-in-law just lost $40,000. I didn't say anything. "Mrs. Brennan? You still there?" "I'm here. There's more. The buyer's threatening to sue them for fraud." Vanessa listed herself as the seller on the contract, but she doesn't own the property. That's textbook fraud. I thought about Vanessa, her perfect hair, her perfect nails, her kale salad with no dressing, her Japandi minimalism. $40,000 gone. "What happens now?" I asked. "Depends. If the buyer sues, your son and daughter-in-law are in serious trouble. If they don't, they're just out 40 grand. Either way, they can't sell your apartment, not without your signature, and I'm guessing you're not planning to give it to them." "No." "Good. Here's my advice. Don't tell them you know about the 40,000. Let them think you're still in the dark. See what they do next." "Why?" "Because people make mistakes when they're desperate, and desperate people tell the truth." I hung up. I sat down at my kitchen table, the same table where Thomas and I used to eat breakfast every morning, the same table where I'd helped Ryan with his homework when he was 10. $40,000. Gone. I should have felt happy. I should have felt victorious. But all I felt was tired. That night, I lay in bed, in my own apartment, and I stared at the ceiling. I thought about Ryan. I thought about the way he'd looked when he came back to the restaurant, pale and shaking. He'd seen the photos of Thomas. I knew that now. He'd gone into the apartment planning to lock his own mother out, and he'd seen his father's face staring back at him from the wall. And for one moment, just one, he'd felt something. Guilt, maybe. Shame. Fear. But it hadn't been enough to stop him. I rolled over and looked at the keychain on my nightstand. World's Best Mom. I picked it up. I held it in my hand. And I made a decision. I wasn't going to tell Ryan I knew about the 40,000. I wasn't going to tell him I knew about the fake contract. I wasn't going to tell him anything. I was going to wait. I was going to watch. And when the time was right, I was going to let him come to me. Ryan showed up at my door on a Thursday night, 3 weeks after my birthday. I was watching TV, some cooking show I wasn't really paying attention to. I heard the knock and my whole body tensed. I looked through the peephole. It was him. He looked terrible. Unshaved, hair messy, dark circles under his eyes. He was wearing a wrinkled button-down shirt and jeans. I'd never seen Ryan look wrinkled. Vanessa didn't allow wrinkled. I opened the door but left the chain on. "Mom," he said, his voice cracked. I didn't say anything. "Mom, please. I need to talk to you." "About what?" "About everything. Please, just 5 minutes." I looked at him for a long time. Then I closed the door, unhooked the chain, and opened it again. He stepped inside. He looked around the apartment like he'd never seen it before. His eyes landed on the photos of Thomas on the wall. He stared at them. "You put them back up," he said quietly. "They're my photos. In my apartment." He flinched. He sat down on the couch without asking. I stayed standing. "Mom, He stopped, rubbed his face with both hands. "I screwed up." "Yes." "Vanessa, she told me you wanted to sell. She said you'd talked to her about it months ago. She said you were struggling with bills, that you were too proud to ask me for help, and that you'd asked her to handle it quietly so you wouldn't feel embarrassed." I laughed. I couldn't help it. It came out sharp and mean. "And you believed her." "I didn't want to, but she showed me things, bank statements, bills marked past due. She said you'd given them to her. She said you'd asked her to help. I've never missed a bill in my life. I know that now." He looked up at me. His eyes were red. "She forged them, Mom. The bank statements, the bills, all of it. I found the Photoshop files on her computer 3 days ago." I sat down across from him, slowly. "Why were you looking through her computer?" "Because the real estate deal fell through. The buyer pulled out. We lost $40,000. His voice shook. "Vanessa said it was your fault. She said you'd sabotaged it somehow. She said you'd filed something with the county to block the sale." I knew that didn't make sense, so I started looking, and I found everything. Everything. The fake documents, the fake contract, emails between her and the buyer where she lied about owning the property, emails between her and Aunt Pat where they planned the whole thing, how to get you out, how to sell the place, how to split the money. Pat was going to get money? $20,000. Vanessa promised her $20,000 if she helped convince you to leave. I thought about Pat's new leather jacket. I thought about the way she wouldn't look at me when Vanessa told me to get out. Did Pat know the documents were fake? Ryan hesitated. I don't think so. I think Vanessa told her the same story, that you wanted to sell, that you'd asked for help. But Pat didn't ask questions. She just went along with it, because she wanted the money. Yeah. We sat in silence. The TV was still on, some chef chopping onions. I muted it. "Ryan," I said, "when you left the restaurant that night, when you went to change the locks, you came back looking like you'd seen a ghost. What happened?" He closed his eyes. "I saw Dad." "What?" "The photos. On the wall. I walked in here and I saw his face and I froze. I hadn't been here in almost a year, Mom. I forgot how many pictures you have of him, and I was standing here with a locksmith, paying him to lock you out of your own home, and Dad was just staring at me from every angle." He opened his eyes. They were wet. I felt like he could see what I was doing, like he knew. "He would have been ashamed of you." Ryan's face crumpled. "I know. He worked himself to death to provide for us. He left me that insurance money so I'd be safe, so I'd have a home. And you tried to take it." "I know." He was crying now, not sobbing, just silent tears running down his face. "Mom, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't know what else to do. Vanessa said if I didn't help her, she'd leave me. She'd take Emma. She'd make sure I never saw her again. She said she had lawyers, that she'd destroy me in court, that I'd lose everything. So you chose to destroy me instead." I didn't think." He stopped, shook his head. "I wasn't thinking. I was scared. I was stupid. I was weak." He looked at me, nodded. "Yeah, I was weak." I stood up, walked to the window, looked out at Burnside Street. A bus went by. A couple walked past holding hands. "Vanessa's going to leave me anyway," Ryan said behind me. "She told me yesterday. She said I'm useless. She said I'm a failure. She said the only reason she married me was because she thought I'd inherit money from you someday, and now that's not going to happen. So what's the point?" I turned around. She said that? Word for word. "And Emma?" "Emma doesn't want to live with her. She told me last week. She said Vanessa's mean. She said she wants to live with me, but Vanessa won't let her. Vanessa's threatening to take her to California. Say I'm an unfit father. File for full custody. Are you an unfit father? Probably. He laughed bitterly. I locked my own mother out of her apartment because my wife told me to. What kind of father does that? I didn't answer. Ryan looked at me. Mom, I know I don't deserve it. I know I don't deserve anything from you, but I need help. I need someone to tell me what to do. I don't know how to fix this. I walked over and sat down next to him. I looked at the keychain sitting on the coffee table. World's best mom. I picked it up. You gave this to me when you were 12, I said. I remember. You saved up your allowance for 3 months. $12. He smiled a little. I thought it was a fortune. It was. I set the keychain down. Ryan, I can help you, but I need something from you first. Anything. Sunday. Your Aunt Pat is having dinner at her house. Family dinner. Vanessa will be there. Pat will be there. I want you to tell them the truth. All of it. The fake documents, the forged signatures, the $40,000, Pat's $20,000, everything. His face went pale. Mom, if I do that, Vanessa will what? Leave you? She's already leaving you. Destroy you? She's already doing that. Ryan, the only way you survive this is if you stop protecting her and start protecting yourself. And Emma. She'll take Emma. Not if you have proof she's been committing fraud. Not if you have proof she's been manipulating you. Not if you have witnesses. Witnesses? Me, Pat, Doug, everyone at that dinner table. You tell the truth, Ryan, in front of everyone, and I'll back you up. I'll testify. I'll do whatever it takes, but you have to be the one to say it. You have to be the one to choose. He stared at me. You'd do that? After everything I did? You're my son. His face crumpled again. I don't deserve you. No, you don't, but you're going to earn it back, starting Sunday. He nodded, wiped his face. Okay, I'll do it. I stood up, walked to the door, opened it. Ryan, if you don't show up Sunday, if you change your mind, if you let Vanessa talk you out of it, don't come back here, ever. Do you understand? He stood up, looked at me. I understand. Good. Now go home. Figure out what you're going to say. And Ryan? Yeah? Bring Emma. She deserves to know the truth too. He left. I closed the door, locked it, put the chain on. I stood there for a long time, just breathing. Then I picked up my phone and called Karen Diaz. Mrs. Brennan? Sunday night, 6 p.m. Pat's house in Beaverton. I'm going to need you to be nearby. Just in case. In case of what? In case my son doesn't follow through. Or in case Vanessa tries something. I'll be there. I hung up. I sat down on the couch. I looked at Thomas's photo on the wall. The one from our wedding day. He was smiling. I was smiling. We looked so young. So hopeful. I'm going to fix this, I said to the photo. I promise. The photo didn't answer, but I felt like he heard me anyway. Sunday came. I got to Pat's house at 5:45 p.m. I didn't want to be early, but I didn't want to be late either. I wanted to be there before Vanessa could poison the room. Pat answered the door. She looked surprised to see me. Maggie, I didn't know you were coming. Ryan invited me. She hesitated, then stepped aside. Well, come in, I guess. The house smelled like pot roast. Doug was in the kitchen, pulling something out of the oven. He saw me and gave a little wave. He looked uncomfortable. Good. Vanessa was already there, sitting on the couch with her phone. She looked up when I walked in. Her face went hard. Margaret, she said. Not a greeting. A warning. Vanessa. Emma was sitting in the corner, earbuds in. Same as always. But when she saw me, she took them out. She didn't smile, but she didn't look away either. Hi, Grandma, she said quietly. Hi, sweetheart. Vanessa's head snapped toward Emma. I told you not to talk to her. I can talk to whoever I want, Emma said. I wanted to hug her, but I stayed where I was. Ryan walked in from the hallway. He looked at me, nodded. I nodded back. Pat clapped her hands together. Okay, dinner's ready. Everyone sit. We sat around the table. Pat had made pot roast, mashed potatoes, green beans. She set everything out like this was a normal family dinner, Like the last month hadn't happened. Like I hadn't been sleeping in a motel and locked out of my own home. Doug said grace. We passed plates. Nobody talked. Finally, Vanessa broke the silence. So, Margaret, I hear you changed the locks. I did. That's illegal, you know. The apartment's in escrow. You can't just— The apartment was never in escrow, I said, because you never owned it. The deed's in my name. It's always been in my name. So the only illegal thing that happened was you trying to sell property that wasn't yours. Pat's fork stopped halfway to her mouth. Vanessa's face flushed red. Ryan, are you going to let her talk to me like that? Ryan set down his fork. He looked at Vanessa, then at Pat, then at me. Actually, he said, I need to say something. Vanessa's eyes narrowed. Ryan, Vanessa forged documents, Ryan said. His voice was shaking, but he kept going. She made fake bank statements, fake bills. She told me Mom wanted to sell the apartment. She told me Mom was struggling financially and was too proud to ask for help. She showed me proof, or what I thought was proof. I believed her. Pat was staring at Ryan. Doug had stopped eating. I helped her, Ryan continued. I changed the locks on Mom's apartment. I went along with the plan to sell it. We had a buyer lined up. We put down $40,000. Then the buyer pulled out because they found out we didn't actually own the property. We lost all of it. $40,000. Gone. Jesus Christ, Doug muttered. And Pat, Ryan said, turning to his aunt. Vanessa promised you $20,000 if you helped convince Mom to leave, didn't she? Pat's face went white. Ryan, I didn't know it was— You didn't ask, I said. You just wanted the money. That's not fair, Pat said. Vanessa told me you wanted to downsize. She said you'd asked for help. She said— She lied, Ryan said. To all of us. She forged documents. She manipulated me. She manipulated you. And she tried to steal my mother's home. Vanessa stood up. Her chair scraped loudly against the floor. I'm not going to sit here and listen to this. Sit down, Ryan said. Excuse me? Sit down. Vanessa stared at him. For a moment, I thought she was going to leave. But something in Ryan's voice, something cold and final, made her sit. Ryan pulled a folder out of his bag. He opened it and spread papers across the table. Bank statements, bills, emails. This is everything, he said. The fake documents, the Photoshop files, the emails between Vanessa and the buyer where she lied about owning the property, the emails between Vanessa and Pat planning the whole thing. I printed all of it. Pat reached for one of the emails. Her hand was shaking. She read it. Her face crumpled. Vanessa, you said. You said Maggie agreed to this. She did, Vanessa said through gritted teeth. I didn't, I said. I never agreed to anything. You locked me out on my birthday. You threw my things in boxes. You threw my husband's photos in the trash. You told the neighbors I was senile. You threatened to sue me. You sent me a text telling me I had 10 days to sign over my apartment or you'd destroy me. You have no proof of that, Vanessa said. I pulled out my phone. I opened the text. I handed the phone to Pat. She read it. Her eyes went wide. Vanessa, Pat whispered. What did you do? What I had to do, Vanessa snapped. You think Ryan's salary is enough? You think we can live on $87,000 a year? We have expenses. Emma's college is coming up. We have credit card debt. We needed that money. So you decided to steal it from my mother, Ryan said. It's not stealing if she's going to die soon anyway. The room went silent. Emma stood up. She was crying. Mom, what is wrong with you? Sit down, Emma. No. Emma walked over to me. She stood next to my chair. Grandma's not dying, and even if she was, that doesn't mean you get to take her stuff. That's evil. Vanessa's face twisted. You have no idea what you're talking about. I've given you everything. I've sacrificed everything for you, and this is how you repay me. You didn't sacrifice anything, Emma said. Grandma did. Grandma took care of me when you left. Grandma gave me money when you wouldn't. Grandma's the only one who actually cares about me. Vanessa stood up. She grabbed her purse. Fine. You want to stay with her? Stay. See how long that lasts. Ryan, we're leaving. Ryan didn't move. No. What? I'm not going with you. I'm filing for divorce. And I'm filing for full custody of Emma. Vanessa laughed. It was a sharp, ugly sound. You? You're going to file for custody? With what lawyer? With what money? You can't afford— I can, I said. I'm paying for it. Vanessa turned to me. Her face was pure hate. You. Me. You think you've won. You think because you got your precious apartment back, because you turned my husband against me, because you stole my daughter. You think you've won. I didn't steal anything, I said. You tried to steal from me, and you lost. Vanessa grabbed her coat. She looked at Ryan. You're going to regret this. Both of you. She left. The door slammed so hard the windows rattled. Nobody moved for a long time. Finally, Pat spoke. Her voice was small. Maggie, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. You didn't want to know, I said. You wanted the money. You didn't care where it came from. That's not fair. Isn't it? Pat looked at Doug. Doug looked at his plate. Pat stood up. I think you should go. I'm not going anywhere, I said. Not until we're clear. You're not getting a penny from me. Not now. Not ever. When I die, whatever I have left goes to Ryan and Emma. You get nothing. Pat's face went red. After everything I've done for you? Like what? Like helping Vanessa lock me out? Like lying to me? Like choosing $20,000 over your own sister? She didn't answer. I stood up. Come on, Emma. Ryan. Let's go. Emma grabbed her backpack. Ryan picked up his folder. We walked to the door. Before I left, I turned back. Pat, Vanessa might call you. She might try to get you to help her. Don't. If you do, I'll make sure everyone in this family knows exactly what you did. Understand? Pat nodded. She looked like she might cry. Good. We went back to my apartment. I made tea. Emma sat on the couch with her phone. Ryan sat at the kitchen table staring at nothing. What happens now? He asked. Now you file for divorce. You file for custody. We gather evidence. We build a case. And we win. And if we don't, we will. Emma looked up from her phone. Grandma, can I stay here tonight? Of course. Can I stay here longer? I looked at Ryan. He nodded. As long as you need, I said. She smiled. It was the first real smile I'd seen from her in months. 3 months later, I sold the apartment. Not because I had to, because I wanted to. It sold for $505,000. After the realtor's fees and closing costs, I walked away with $480,000. I bought a smaller house in Selwood. 2 bedrooms, a backyard, a front porch. It cost $340,000. I paid cash. Ryan and Emma moved into the guest bedroom. Temporarily, Ryan said, just until the divorce was finalized. Just until he got back on his feet. I didn't mind. Emma started calling me every night to say goodnight. Ryan started cooking dinner twice a week. We ate together at the kitchen table, the same table from the old apartment. I'd made sure the movers brought it. Vanessa tried to fight the custody arrangement. She hired a lawyer. She filed motions. She sent threatening emails. But Karen Diaz buried her. The fake documents, the forged signatures, the text messages, the emails with Pat, all of it. The judge gave Ryan full custody. Vanessa got supervised visitation every other weekend. She stopped showing up after the second month. Emma didn't seem to miss her. One night, about 6 months after the dinner at Pat's, Ryan came into the kitchen. I was washing dishes. He picked up a towel and started drying. Mom? Yeah? Do you forgive me? I thought about it. Really thought about it. I don't know, I said. Ask me again in a year. He nodded. Fair enough. We finished the dishes in silence. When we were done, he hugged me. I let him. I'm going to spend the rest of my life making this up to you, he said. I know. I still have the keychain. World's best mom. It sits on my nightstand, next to a photo of Thomas. Next to a photo of Emma at her volleyball tournament. Next to a photo of Ryan and me at the new house, standing on the front porch, both of us smiling. I don't know if Ryan and I will ever be okay. I don't know if I'll ever fully trust him again, but we're trying. And sometimes, that's enough.